Okay, so we're going to read chapter 1 today, and if all of you remember, I'm doing this for my friend Ange, and for anyone else who doesn't read very well. So we've done the introduction of the book, and Buster wants lots of pats, don't you, baby? Okay, you have to go sit down. Go sit down, go on. Doesn't listen very well, he's like me. So, we did the preface. Now we're going to do chapter 1. This chapter is called Setting the Scene. I've heard some people say the smell of freshly mown grass makes them think of home. I've heard others say they love the smell of salty air at the beach because it makes them think about holidays. I've always wondered how the smallest thing can trigger a memory, a tiny slither of an event such as so long ago that you didn't even know existed until suddenly it rushes to the surface, triggered by seemingly the strangest thing. For me, it happened when I was about 34, when my sister, Bridie, remember all the names have been changed in the book, who is 8 years younger than me, started trying to have babies. I was there talking to her when suddenly the thought of history repeating itself struck me. Everything came flooding back. All the shame, the guilt, the pain, hidden so deep in my memory that I didn't even know it was there. But it was there all along, just waiting for me to find it. The memory took over and I realised I wasn't thinking about it more. The memory took over and I realised I was thinking about it more than I was thinking about the present. It was the moment from so long ago, lying in bed wondering if tonight was another night of him creeping around, another night of me lying there pretending I was asleep. It was a memory, but a memory so real that I could hear the footsteps in the hallway and the creaking of the floorboards as he crept towards my room. I could feel the cold dread sinking in my stomach, and I could feel myself hoping it wasn't tonight. Even though I knew it was happening, I still feel myself hoping. Some of this, I read it and I think, I can't believe that I read it so calmly. And then sometimes I read something else and I'm really upset by it. But that doesn't happen as much anymore. The more you talk about something, the less power it has. I'd pull the blankets around me, trying to rug myself up so tight he wouldn't get to me. But I knew it wouldn't stop him. Nothing would stop him. Now and then I would find the guts to scream out and call for help. Maybe it wasn't that night, and maybe it wasn't the next night. But now and then I would. The rest of the house just thought I was being a naughty kid. Go to sleep, they'd say back to me. Of course, Mum or anyone else wouldn't think anything was happening as my father was with me. And so he'd keep coming. I could hear the door opening. I could hear his breathing as he stepped into my room. And again, I'd pull the covers up over my head, trying so hard not to breathe too loud. I could feel myself closing my eyes, pretending to be asleep. I'd always close them, but only just, so it didn't look like I was acting. Not that it mattered, because it still happens. I remembered fighting the memory, trying to pull myself out of the moment and return to the present, return to the moment I was speaking to my sister. But it wasn't only that moment that was triggered. There was been other times, like when I saw someone being extra nice to a child, or like I said earlier, the smell of the beach. For some, it means holidays. For me, I remember something else. Hindsight is a bitch, especially when you're talking about pedophilia. It's the topic that is only now being spoken about more freely, and people slowly respond to the growing awareness. Every day, more and more victims are opening up to other people around them as they try and cope with the realization that the person they loved and trusted is a pedophile. It is so hard to watch the people become upset around you as their realization sinks in. And I mean that from the victim's sake. Like watching my family crush around me as they found out and reality hit in. It's heartbreaking. It sometimes makes you wonder if doing it was the right thing. I know it was, but getting to the other side is quite the journey. Again, my story has broken many hearts over the years, and unfortunately, my story is like so many others. I've learned it's not uncommon to feel the lack of support from those closest to you. I have wondered now that I'm nearly 50, if I'd had a little bit more insight into the emotions and reactions, would I have been able to cope differently? Perhaps. However, it is time to move forward and ease the pain as we each deal with the truth in our own way. To me, abuse is abuse, whether it is a mental, physical, or sexual. All forms have a significant impact. I don't mean only on one person it's happening to directly, but everyone around them. It is the people who may have known and didn't know what to do, or perhaps it's the people who discover the abuse and don't know what to do, or those who choose to ignore it. People who ignore pedophiles' behaviour, when they become aware of it, it will eventually have to deal with it. They also become a victim. Those suffering the abuse have no idea what to do, just like I didn't. They're just trying to survive. They don't know what to ask for. It's all new and horrifying. And when you start to talk about it, life just becomes even more confusing. Nobody should judge any of these people, the victims, the family, the friends. Nobody should be judged. Everyone is just trying to cope, and we're all coping with it in our own ways. All the wrongs inflicted by the perpetrator on the victim then become a form of emotional abuse for the victim, hurting their hearts and souls. As the abuse grows into adulthood, the mental health consequences grow also. That's why seeking counselling is some form of essential. What I want to say to each of you, practice saying the word pedophile. Everyone. Especially if you have kids. It's not a dirty word. It is the person who is the pedophilia who is harmful. The person with pedophilia who is harmful. Think about how you talk to kids when they see a perceived danger, whether it be a spider or a snake or a stranger. These are things that we are not scared to talk about to your child. We empower the child to understand the risk and equip them with the skills to keep themselves safe. So why not with pedophiles? You just use it in an everyday word and normalize it. You can start teaching your children when they're young what a pedophile is, and that the pedophile is something to be wary of. Not in a million years did I think I could say the word pedophile, not even 2 years ago. Seriously, it's only now that I'm comfortable with saying it, and I know without a doubt, if I had seen a book for sale with the word pedophile, I would not have bought it in a million years. Pedophilia is classed as a psychiatric disorder, and it is not a crime unto itself. The International Classification of Diseases defines it as a sustained focus on intense pattern of sexual arousal as manifested by persistent sexual thoughts, fantasy, urges, or behaviours involving pre-pubertal children. Having a sexual attraction to children is deviant but not illegal. Some pedophiles do not molest children. However, a range of harmful and criminal behaviours can be associated with pedophilia. These crimes include child sexual abuse, statutory rape, child pornography, indecent exposure. Some research suggests that pedophiles who commit child abuse and sexual abuse do so become of other antisocial traits in addiction to their sexual attraction. A review of research studies published between 1982 and 2001 conclude that child sexual abuse use cognitive distortions to meet personal needs, justifying abuse by making excuses, redefining their actions as love and mutual, and exploiting the power imbalance inherent in all adult-child relationships. And then there's some information as to where this information has come from. I'll let you guys, I'll take a photo of that at the end of it. I believe in many cases an incestuous pedophile act begins from a selfish, self-comforting behaviour, a need for power and control. Some are narcissistic enough to call this love. A pedophile can choose to act or not act on his or her impulses. A pedophile chooses to feed his demons or not. Whatever it is, when pedophilia results, it's a criminal act. It is disastrous in a way. It damages the victim and breaks families, which can be for a lifetime, or until the family and victim learn to mend. For so long I tried to make excuses for my father's behaviour. I now know it was a selfish, self-satisfying act that he chose to do repeatedly without consideration for myself or the rest of my family. During the years it has taken me to write this book, I have had many discussions with my mother. She encouraged me to speak out so people may feel empathy if they find themselves in a similar mess. Mum wanted others to understand how long it has taken me to process this experience, to heal, and to be able to share my story. Initially with my family, then with extended family and further friends afield. Even at the age of 50 and with professional counselling, disclosure of self-help, there is still a small part of me trying to reason why. Why did Dad do this? So that's the end of setting the scene. I hope that's done it really well for you guys. So the next chapter is chapter 2, Origins of Inspiration. So I'll read that next time. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I think that pretty much explains itself. I don't think I need to go into detail. And I find it weird how when I was talking about the actual act that has encouraged me to write this book, I read through it quite easily. But then when I talk about my mum and her information, how much it upsets me. It upsets me that that is something my mum has to cope with, and knowing how protective I am of people, she's a mum, she's more protective. It doesn't make sense to her, as it doesn't most of us. Okay, see you later.